Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make face masks. For a face mask, you really only need a piece of fabric, but for my sewing project today, I'm going to use some elastic cord, a measuring tape, a sewing machine, but you could easily sew this by hand with a needle and thread, and scissors. Remember with a sewing needle and scissors to ask a parent for help first. Here's a piece of fabric that I've already cut out. It is 9 inches by 6 inches, which is a good starting point. You might need it a little bit smaller for smaller faces and larger for larger faces, but this seems to be a good place to start. I'm also going to cut 2 sections of elastic 10 inches long each to wrap around the head. You can get elastic from an old piece of clothing you don't wear anymore. You could also cut strips out of your fabric and use them as bands to tie instead of the elastic. So I'm going to pin a hem about 1/4 inch thick. And I'm just going to do this on one side. This is the proper way to sew, but it's maybe not totally necessary since we're working with such a small piece of fabric and it's super manageable without pinning it. I'm going to sew a hem along all 4 sides, and I'll start with the pin side to show you how that goes. When you do pin, if you pin, you'll line them up pointing towards your sewing machine. That way, when it's going through, it's easy to take out and put into your bowl. So to end on the short sides, I'm going to back stitch at the end and at the beginning of each of the sides. And this sewing machine has a handy little button for back stitching. And what that does is it puts in a few stitches in reverse, and that'll make your stitches stronger so they're less likely to come apart. If you are stitching by hand, you can also do the same thing where you stitch backwards before you stitch forwards and then stitch backwards again. So now I'm going to stitch this fold in place. And you can see on this finished one what it looks like. Basically, this fold is so that when you wrap it around your face, it can stretch over your mouth and nose. And I'm going to do that by folding it over like this and then sewing it in my sewing machine. So here's what it looks like. I double stitched it. Since there will be some tension on it, I don't want the stitches to come loose. And now I'm going to apply some elastic. I'm actually going to triple stitch this because that's really going to get pulled on, and I want this to last a while. And then I'm going to fold it over, make sure that there's no twists in the elastic. And while I hold that in place, I'm going to stitch the other side. So this is it. It fits pretty good. It's actually a little bit tight on me. The straps could have been a little bit looser. But what I do like about this design is that the 2 straps in the back are adjustable, so I can put them higher or lower on my head. And It's pretty simple, right? It took me about 15 minutes, a little less than 15 minutes to make one. I also made a bunch in a larger batch, and if you do that, if you want to give them away to food service workers or medical staff, I would recommend doing each step in succession all together. So cutting all your fabric, and then sewing all your hems, and then sewing all the folds and straps. And if you have someone to help you, then each person can take one of those jobs. Also, if you're giving them away, wash them and make sure they're clean before you do. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you. Bye.